Welcome to Behind the Buzzwords with Tracy Eames, Arielle Morten, and Yanta Haynes, where we expand on marketing terms, tactics, and strategies in a more digestible way for entrepreneurs and business owners. Our goal is to debunk the marketing myths, remove scary barriers, and have a damn good time doing it. So take a seat and buckle up because you're in for a fun ride.
Hey y'all, welcome back to Behind the Buzzwords. We are here today enjoying a little bit more marketing conversation. And our goal, as always, is to help you dispel some of those myths around marketing, understand some of those buzzwords that people are throwing around constantly, and just help you optimize your marketing and reach your customers better. So with that, we've got Arielle and Yanta here with me today, and we are going to talk about making your fans advocates, right? So we talk a lot about our ideal clients, knowing them, but how do you make your ideal client your fan? And then how do you move them from being a fan to truly being an advocate? So, Arielle, Yanta, how are y'all doing today?
I'm doing good.
Doing great. I'm glad to be here. Your nice, wonderful experience with you is always great.
I mean, I look forward to these recording sessions.
They're always a blast. And we always learn something new about each other too. So I love
Oh
that.
yeah, and about marketing. That's the thing I like the most. I'm like, man, you get on a call with other people who think about marketing all day, and you're like, oh, I didn't think about it that way. I think I should just come here to learn more stuff from the two of you.
For our conversation today, right?
This checks my box for networking for the day. Awesome. So Arielle, Yanta, yeah, I mean, we've all done this for a while. We've all tried to connect our ICA. I think on our previous episodes, we've talked about the importance of knowing your ICA, the importance of saying what's relevant to them and not just like starting off with, as we called it, like the marriage proposal, right? Like warming them up, helping them get to know you, you getting to know them. But then I think a lot of people ask us, like, okay, well, we've got these fans, so to speak. We've got these clients. They're following us. They're opening our emails. They're liking and clicking on our social media. Like, how do I get them to participate in my brand more and talk about me, right? It's like that holy grail of word of mouth or user generated content. There's a lot of buzzwords that go around this. So, Yanta, how do you think about that? How do you sort of think about fans being part of the voice of your brand?
In this new modern day age, I'm going to say you got the business and corporate side of the house. And then now a lot of things that's coming up, which is a buzzword, personal brand. And so if we keep the conversation personal brand, because a lot of people now starting businesses, we can relate it to the corporate where your favorite cereal, your favorite drinks, your favorite companies, you're so used to having those things that you don't know that they built that like no trust with you. It's just there now. It's embedded in you. But now when we have these new personal brands coming up, and I've seen it, but seeing that most people now with those big Coca-Cola brands, if they know the owner of the company, they'll follow their personal brand, and their personal brand will have more likes and follows than the company will. And so if we look at that in that aspect, I think of it in this way as in they just want to be in a place where they can experience you and see who's behind the products and services that they're receiving. And if they know that you of character of something that is a like-minded character in their space, they're going to continue to feed and be your fan in that. But the question is how do you show that and still keep you whole without giving all your life away to the network and to to the internet, and let them know enough about you so that they can continue to advocate for you. And so that's when I think about that, that's what comes to my mind is how much of ourselves do we show, and when our authentic self show up, how much of that is liked, and should you always show all of yourself when you show up? Because I work a lot in the shadow side of the house, and we have our shadow sides where that we do get angry, we do get frustrated, we do get sad about things that's put out on the internet about us. How do we show up and keep our mental sanity with also wanting to build our personal brands and our businesses? I know, Arielle, you have a great eyesight of actually identifying, like I do, the ideal client. And on this talk, when we talk about ideal client, we might say ICA. They're interchangeable. If we talk about user generated content, we might say UGC. That's interchangeable, just so y'all can know some of those buzzwords that y'all see out there. How do you distinguish, how do you show up as your personal self, a personal brand, and what does it mean to you too, when it comes to how do you get them to like you for real? How do you think they'll get them to show up for you 20 years later, even if they haven't been talking to you, haven't bought a product for you, but they quick to say your name. They quick to tells people to go buy your products, buy your services because they love you.
For me, I think about something that you said, which is key. What am I a diehard fan for? What do I advocate about? What is it a non-negotiable? Think about your toothpastes, your soaps, the type of brands you use for your cleaning products, your everyday things that you probably just ignore. But when you go to the store, there is no searching. You know where it is. You know on what aisle, on what shelf, and it's just like, it's like automatic, and you're automatically getting it. What made you choose that? How do you feel? And sometimes it's deeper too, like when it comes to, the clothes that you buy, the brands that you consume, the TV shows that you watch. What grew you so passionate about this that you go and tell your friends, man, you got to watch this, you got to eat this, you got to try this, you got to attend this, you got to go to this location. Think about, when I'm working with my clients, that's one of the assignments I give them. What is something that you cannot live without, or what is something that is a no-brainer for you, and this is the only brand that you get? And ask yourself why. What was the moment, the initiation, what grabbed you, what held you, and what's keeping you? It'll allow you to think about this brand, but now think about how you do that for your ideal
Arielle,
clients
say
and grow.
those steps again, because I feel like you said them fast and people might want to like write those down.
Sorry. So it's basically, you want to ask yourself about what is it that you're really passionate about that you can't live without. And you want to ask yourself, like, what initially got you, what keeps you, and then no, I said that backwards. What got you there, what's keeping you there, and what is making you tell everyone about it, is ultimately is what the three areas are. So you got to ask yourself that, and then workshop it for yourself. Like, what am I doing in my business for that? And you probably are already doing it. You know what I'm saying? You're probably already doing it. And it's really about bringing that value every single time. It's about them really knowing what to expect of you. And that does take time. That does take experience. That does take trying things on and authentically showing up as yourself in your personal brand. Most of our businesses, when we first start out, we are our personal brand. Some of us grow it until a point where we want to be separated from it. But for the most part, when you're getting ready to initiate that, it's all about your values and really understanding who you are, what you believe in, and what you like, and asking yourself, what pisses me off? What is a non-negotiable? Why am I here? Why am I so riled up about what I'm doing? And how am I going to get them to do that ultimate rally cry? And that rally cry is the person that's diehard, irrational, loyal fans. A book called Branding is Sex. Really good book, crazy ass title, I know. Oops, sorry. Crazy title, but it is a really, really, really good book. And it talks about this notion of building your fan into an irrational, loyal customer, where they're not only utilizing your services, but they're advocating for you. They're telling folks to go and get it. And it really is understanding you at your heart, your core, what you're fighting for, what your cause is, why you're here, and translating that, because those people are going to flock to you wherever you're doing it, whether it's social media, in person, conferences, whatever you want to call it. Like, they're going to flock to that brand because they're going to get behind you and rally for you. So it's really about that value, showing up authentically every time, delivering what you promise, and exercising that in a way that people are connecting and can see, like, okay, this is not going to be a different person when I see them, or when I get on the inside, I buy it and I buy something else, it's not going to change.
I love that. I also feel like I always get like another book to read whenever I'm on this podcast. So my reading list is getting longer. And I think I like a lot of the things that both of you said. Like, Yanta, kind of going back to what you said about personal brand. When I sort of think about it, it's the old adage. When I was on the corporate side of the work, right, we would always say about consultants, like, people hire consultants that they wouldn't mind getting stuck in an airport with. Right? Like, because honestly, like, you're traveling a lot, like, you have to spend a lot of time with them. So when I sort of think about fans and like the customer experience and like my personal brand, that's a big part of what we're trying to communicate at Teams & Co. Right? Like, when we're talking to clients, we're trying to convey, like, again, not all of our personal stuff, but like, hey, this is how we interact, and we try to model that for people. It's why I do a lot of speaking. We do a lot of video content because we want folks to like get a sense of our personality, right? Like as a consultant or a coach, like we do both, we have to spend a lot of time with people. So if they don't feel like there's a good connection, that's probably not going to go as well, right? They're going to like, 4 weeks and be like, wow, if I have to be stuck in a room with this person for like one more minute, right? Like, but I think it's a real thing, and we hear that from our clients a lot. Like when we talk about like how do you pick a coach or how do you pick a consultant, a lot of it is recommendations from friends or people in my network, right? Because it is such a personal relationship. You do want to kind of have a sense of the person before you start, and so we do that a lot. Like we'll do a lot of stuff where like personally we're out there, like we write blogs from our individual perspectives, or we'll do video podcasts or speaking engagements. So not everything comes from like the mysterious Teams and Co. It comes from the people at Teams and Co. because we recognize that there's the brand of Teams and Co. But that brand comes to life through each of us individually, and so that personal brand is always a balance, right? And again, as an introvert, I find that a hard balance to make sometimes because I err on the side of not posting a lot of personal information. And so, there's been times people are like, you're such an enigma. And I'm like, well, that's not a bad thing. Like, I'm okay with that. But I do like try to like, talk about the things I care about and the causes I care about and those sorts of things. But yeah, I think that's like, it'd be interesting to hear from both of you. Like, how do you balance that? Because there's a sense of like, hey, you don't want to, you don't want to have to feel this pressure as an entrepreneur. Like you have to have this personal brand and you have to share all these things, but also you want to kind of give people a sense of you. And so how do you all manage that?
I could jump in, and I think it kind of ties into a little bit of what Yanta was asking also, like how do you keep that balance there, or talk, she spoke about it. And I think for me, when you got to write it down. What are you comfortable with sharing? Because your brand story is important. The inception of how it happened, the moment that you knew you had to do something about it, the day you came up with the solution. Like you really want to really have that brand story. And it doesn't mean you need to say your personal story, as far as your personal life and things that are happening, but how did this come about? Like, for instance, my story was I've been in marketing in the industry for about 6 years, working for a company that I thought was, no way I'll be able to lose my job here. And then the pandemic hit and I was on maternity. And so I was like one of the first ones to go. And from there, I was like, man, what do I do? And so that's a part of my inception story. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty behind like, all the deep rooted issues that came along with it. But that surface level, like that's where the inception of this came. I was sitting in my living room, like, what am I going to do next? And how am I going to take all the skills that I have? And I'm like, well, if I've done it for businesses, why can't I go and do it for more? If I've done it for this business, why can't I go and do it for more? And so it's that inception moment. And then when I got out there and I got in the field and I heard all this rah rah from the bro marketers telling me what you had to do, and it was the only way and it was the only thing, and I started doing those only things and it wasn't working. I'm like, well, what the hell, dude? You told me this was the thing that I had to do and it's not doing the thing it's supposed to do. And so it was like I got angry and I got upset, and I'm like, this is BS. You guys are feeding us, telling us that we have to, and this is the only way. And if it's not a part of our skill set, why is it the only way? Everything works. You just got to decide what you're going to work. And so that's like my story. You know what I'm saying? I didn't start naming the companies and the people that was saying it and the people that pissed me off and the personal feelings, And so I tell my clients and myself too, is like that even balance is where you're still letting them in to know like how you feel, what you experienced, but you're keeping like the personal stuff to yourself. And some brands, they want to let it out, and more power to you. You know what I'm saying? I'm not against it or for it, but I don't want everyone to feel like they have to lay out all of their feelings. Like my mother died in this year. Like if that's not a part of your story, I don't really think people need to hear that. Or I grew very ill and this happened to me. If that's not really a part of your story, if it doesn't feed into the mission of your business and your brand, I don't personally feel like it needs to be involved. Now on the other end of the spectrum, people are like, don't even put my picture up. And I'm like, okay, come on. Like give me a little something.
No ugly pictures.
Like, give me a little something now. Like that's not your cop out when I say like you don't have to put all your deep personal information. You still need to give something because like I mentioned earlier, people are attracted to people that they like. Like Tracy said, if will I be willing to sit in the airport with you? If I know nothing about you, I'm not gonna know, like, and trust you. You know what I'm saying? Like I want people, buy from people. And so there does need to be a little bit of you involved. Like for instance, Tracy has a dog. I would tell her to talk about that, her love for her
Everybody knows
dog.
about Wheezy.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying?
Easy knows about
There is not a chance that no one knows Tracy and
That's
doesn't
the
know
only
about.
personal aspect of my life they know, but she's adorable.
But I'm saying, like, see, that's it. That's it. And other people know that, like, you travel. They know that you're part of organization. They know that you just recently got a certification, like, in coaching. Like, these are just different things that people know, and they're beginning to see your personality and flock to it and decide if that's something that they like or not. So that's the way that I go about doing it. Like, give a little, not too much. Give what you're comfortable with, because if you're uncomfortable with that information, you're not going to talk about it.
That's great because I'm gonna go from one thing that you said that I wrote down because I take notes, you know me. And one of the things that was said was and came to my mind was replication, and it comes with the one thing you said, only thing, and then you hear that a lot in the marketing. Everybody has the biggest secret dream for you, and they have the best way for you to go. And the honest truth, nothing has developed that's not already out there. We just have people giving us different contents and concepts on how to get there. And so if you're replicating yourself exactly how someone tells you to do it, you're not showing up as yourself. And your people will see you eventually because you can only do it but so long where it's not you. And so when you blow up in a situation, they're going to be like, oh, that character's not a character we know. But the thing is it's always been your character. It's just now when you're frustrated because you're doing so many things that people told you to do that's not of your character. That this is how you, if you would have showed up yourself, they wouldn't have known it's anything different because you do get frustrated. They see you get frustrated. You speak about it in the way you need to speak about it to let them know that this life is frustrating. Entrepreneurship is frustrating as hell. Nothing changes that. However, there are techniques and there are skills that you can do to make it a little bit more simpler. It's never gonna be easy, just a little bit more
That's a
simpler.
t-shirt.
And
Entrepreneurship, it's
Yeah.
never going to be easy.
it's never going to be easy. Like it's illusion. Easy is illusion. Don't go for it. Okay. Even Chat GPT don't make it easy
Right.
because you still all that stuff Chat GPT put out there for y'all. So don't think that things make it easy. But consistency of who you are and how you show up is what makes your personal brand you. And so, Arielle, you talked about Tracy and the love for dogs. In our world, we call those pillars or your sectors of what you do. And so with that, you can have sectors of things that I like to travel. I definitely love dogs. And now I'm a fan of cat videos and I don't even keep cats at my house. But they're so funny and hilarious. However, you have people are out there for those things and they want to see people for those things. But I'm also an advocate for sexual abuse. I'm an advocate for military sexual trauma. And so I'm mental health. So those are the things that I will also talk about. I'm very spiritual. How much of that do you want to give yourself? And I don't think it's totally like a balance. I think it's about at that time, because we go through chapters of our businesses and chapters of our lives, what is prominent at that time, 9 times out of 10 is going to come out. Even if you're not thinking about it, it's going to be one of those things that you talk about more than you talk about something else. And at that moment, it's also economy. What's going on in the world? You might be an advocate for those type of political stance and controversial things, that issues that's going on. That might come out in season 2. You might not had it in season 1. So those are the things that's what's coming on. That so it's a flip strip on you. But I do think and believe deeply in what Arielle said, that you need to have to actually know your story. If you don't lay out your story, you don't know what is optional for you to give and what is not optional for you to give. So, for example, in our culture, I was talking to my partner, and we quickly said we don't have those traumatic stories. Did we have a hard life? I did. She might not had as much as hard life as I did. I did have a kind of a little hard life, but I don't have the dramatic life that I need to be telling that story. Some people have. I wasn't homeless, and I can't say I was. Did we have lack of food? Yes. Did I grow up poor? Yes. However, I don't have to ever tell you that story. I get to choose and have agency of what stories I want to tell. Now, only people hear my real life stories is in the conversation. So, in order to get to know me, you have to be in my environment. You have to come into my ecosystem because I'll tell you a little bit more when you work with me. You'll learn a little bit more about me. And so, the front end is just so you can get a peep show of what my personality and character is. In order to get a deep dive of that person, you have to go into that ecosystem. You actually have to be part of what they do so you can really see how they show up in the world. That's the only way you're really going to get to like, know, and trust them and believe in what they do, because all personal brands is doing is trying to evoke a belief in what they believe in. And that's the only reason you follow the peoples that you follow, because they believe in something that you believe in.
Mhm.
And when they beliefs start to change, that's when they start to lose their advocate. And that sometimes it's a much needed thing, and sometimes it can be detrimental to the business. So that's the thing about balance. Depending on what's going on, sometimes you won't have a balance, and sometimes it's okay to you lose advocates for you because you've actually growing. Your business will grow and your business will lose people because you are in different chapters of your business. And at that time, you might have a philanthropy spirit where you believe in something so deeply that the people who rode with you in the beginning don't do that no more. But you're going to get a whole bunch of more people who believes in what you believe in to move your mission and your goals forward.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like really good for folks to hear, right? Like it's up to you to kind of decide how much of your personal brand you want in your business brand, right? But the key is no matter what you do, be consistent with that and make sure it's comfortable for you, right? So that way people know what to expect, right? Like that's what customers want. They want to know, hey, what can I expect from you, right? Like one of the things, that I love about brands, like, I'll know how they're going to react in a certain situation, right? Like I know what the return policy is on Amazon, right? Like I know that if I have something and I get the wrong size, I can like quickly drop it off at a Whole Foods and like it's going to be easy. It's one of the reasons I feel more comfortable shopping online, right? Because I know like, okay, I'm not going to have to go through a rigmarole. And so, I know when I call Chewy, they're going to ask how Wheezy's feeling. And they're going to ask her how her birthday was. And they're going to send her a birthday card. And like, I love all those things. Do I expect the
Absolutely.
person that answers the phone at Chewy to tell me her life story? No. Like, I would never. That's like a false expectation. But do I love it when she asks about my dog and tells me about her dog? Totally. We have like a 5-minute conversation about our dogs. And like, it's a common point because the brand is about pets, right? And so I can have a complete conversation with a total stranger about how much we love our pets. And it seems perfectly normal to me. I'm never going to probably speak to that person again, but like it's part of what, connects me to that brand. Whereas another brand I might use because I love their sustainability but I never again, I don't expect them to do things. I find as like a brand, finding that balance is important. And, because I think the more you're comfortable, to your point, Yanta and Arielle, like the more you're going to be consistent, the more you sort of pick your lane that you feel comfortable with, it's not gonna feel forced and it's not gonna feel disingenuous. And like, you gotta do what you love. I think the one piece that people do forget about when they're thinking about their personal brand is actually inviting customers in, right? So I always sort of say, like, I might not say a lot about myself personally, but we often at Teams and Co ask people to share their thoughts and share their opinions, not their personal stories, but like create the conversation, right? So if you want somebody to like, if you want user generated content, like do a post that says like, hey, show me how you're using our product, right? Or like, tell us the best experience you've ever had with our coaching program, right? Like you can actually ask people like what they love and, get some feedback, and that can start to like start that conversation. Or if you show yourself doing something, then maybe they'll like, like, hey, this is a picture of me doing a workshop. Obviously you don't want to take pictures of like confidential information and put them on your social media, but you could be like, hey, this is me
Disclaimer.
speaking at an event. Like, what would you want our next topic to be, right? And then maybe they're like at that event and they're like, oh yeah, we love the presentation that you gave, right? Like, because you're creating that dynamic where you're sharing something, it's about the business, but you're also inviting them actually into the conversation versus being like, this is all about me and my brand and my business.
I think you said it perfectly because it came back to you believe in your products and services, but we like to see who believes in your products and services, and that's what user generated content is showing us these people also believe, these people are also getting their problem solved, these people are also having an excellent
Yep.
experience with these products and services. And I think that's very much, that's what's most, so many products, so many services for people to go to, where you should always want to invite your followers in so that they can actually express their opinions, so you can either give them a better experience knowing that your product is benefiting others, but actually hearing it for yourself.
Mhm.
Like, we all got our big egos, and yeah, okay, but hearing what people actually think, and that's not just the good stuff, that's also the deterrent stuff, the stuff that you think that is bad. And I don't like to use the word bad because I always think things, something is a learning experience from anything that you get. So it's, is it effective, is what you're doing now effective for these this product and service, or is it ineffective for this product and service? And only way you can know that is from your users. You can't do that yourself. And then you said a book, Tracy, and it came in my head, Followed, by Amanda Bucci. I think I might have messed her last name up. It's Bucci is her last name. And she tells a story inside her book that sharing your personal brand can be detrimental to a point where you're doing it for the people. You're not doing this for the people. Remember that still. The actions that you do is not to get them to love you. If you're doing it and your services are just you and authentically you, they're going to love you who you are. Don't do it just for that, because she has a story in the book where she eating disorder, because you're trying to stay a figure that of something ideal identity that people have of you, and you make yourself so unhealthy because you're trying to live for the people. We're not asking you to make your personal brand live for the
No.
people. We're asking you to live for yourself and allow them to see you, to love you.
Or don't, right? Like, honestly, like, I know a lot of people who have companies who never talk about themselves in social media, and they have private, like, I have a private Facebook account. My clients never see my private Facebook account. I also rarely use it. Like, I don't love social media, but like, I basically really only connect with my friends. And like, actually, when I make new friends, they're like, I can't find you on Facebook. Here's how to find me. Cause I'm like so hidden. And like, that's okay too, right? Like, I think if you're going to like sort of share stuff, know that like it's a great way to connect with people. And you can also just do that from your brand perspective, right? Like, you can share how you're like most of your content from your brand, and it can be only business related, or it could be the social causes that your business supports, right? Like Subaru has a ton of ads around, that they support animal shelters and national parks, and like those things have nothing to do with car sales, but their sort of ethos is that they know that those are causes that their customers care about, so they donate to the things that their customer cares about. Great. And they talk about it a lot. Awesome. Hopefully when people are like out there at the national parks, they're posting it back to Subaru and saying, "Hey, Subaru, thanks for supporting our national parks," right? Like, so I just love that, Yanta, because it's like, hey, you know what? You can find your way in this, and you can find the space that feels comfortable to you. And I think this goes back to your point, Arielle. Like, the most authentic marketing is what feels right to you and to your brand. Like, not everything works for everybody. It's the same way like when employee engagement was like a buzzword. People were like, how do I get a ping pong table? Because Google has ping pong tables and everybody loves working at Google. And like
Yeah,
every time I'd talk to a company and I'd ask the like team members, I'm like, do you guys want a ping pong table? They're like, no, no, I don't.
that's perfect, because that goes to the
Right.
culture of your company.
So it's like, when you try to copy people, like instead of trying to copy people, just figure out what works for you or figure out what works for your team, right? Like have the conversation.
I agree. I agree a lot. And I tell people all the time, both you and Yanta touched on it. It's like, don't go and say, well, this person is doing this and they made this amount of money, so I'm going to go and do that
Right.
too. Does your ICA live there? Like, is that a place is that what they go to give? Are you doing the same thing they're doing? Is your initiatives aligned? Is your values aligned? Like, do you have the skill set? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, why are we gonna go and do this thing because someone else did it? And it's like, I tell people all the time, and I think that's what's the fear of people showing up online, because they see some brands that are putting it all out there, and that's that brand. That's what works for that brand. If you're following a mommy blogger that talks about her life of being a mother and is a comedian behind it, she's gonna show you the hot mess express in her life because that's her brand. That's what she's doing. That does not mean you in your brand and what you're doing, you need to now go and pop the trunk and relieve all the mess that you are carrying around. It's different brands. You're a different cause, different audience, different outcome. Like, don't be so afraid to extend that opportunity or descend, like not do it at all, just because you see someone else doing it. Your brand, your ideal client, your mission, your offer. It's no way that you have a face, a identical thing of someone else's, because it's no one can replicate you, and no one can replicate your experiences and your values and what led you to open this business and start this brand.
And I like to touch on that, pop that trunk right quick, because it's such a great analogy. But popping that trunk will, and doing things that's not you will lead you into that imposter syndrome that we talk about.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at someone who's so much advanced than you. And so now you feeling inadequate because you can't do what they do, or you don't show up the way they show up. But you're here on this show that we'll tell you, show up as yourself, be who you are, how you are, and don't allow them to bully you into being something else that you're not going to be. So I just like the pop the trunk unleashes all kinds of shame, guilt, frustration, anxiety, stress. Keep it simple. Just marketing, in what we're, just to sum it up, and it's going to be over and over again, marketing is simple. Keep it simple and experiment. All it is a big science project. No one in the world is going to tell you they know how to do marketing. Yes, we have degrees for it. Yes, we have experts in the field who they call gurus and stuff. But we trip and find what works in marketing. We trip upon the greatest viral posts. We trip upon the likes and the love posts. We trip upon something actually working, because it's all an experiment. Why? Because behind marketing is human beings. And human beings, we are some weird creatures. Amazing, but we're very weird. One week we might like this, next week we might like this. And we can change our minds anytime we want to and how we want to. Just like, I'm a holistic person. I use chemical free products. I shop at a shoppers club. I literally order my things from a company called Melaleuca, because they don't even market. They don't market, y'all, but they have billions of customers, and they've been in the work and been in this business for 40 years on sustainable, radical free products. So imagine all the advocates that have to love this product to keep this business in business for so long that does not market. So I'm saying that to say, market the way you want to market, the way you need to market, in a way that feels comfortable to you. Just a triple hit Arielle saying of everything and summing up what she's saying. Basically, be you. We want to see you. This is why we did this show. It's so we can see y'all show up for who y'all are and love what you do. We want you to love marketing, because people make marketing so stressful. And it can be. I'm not going to take that stress away from there, but you can make it simple too by just loving the experiments and having fun with it.
I'm going to second that, because I really do believe in what you're saying. Like, marketing is a test, and you should track it and keep metrics of all things that are taking place and what's happening, and see how did it perform well. And that's why we do A/B testing, and that's why we try things on and we tweak small little changes. Maybe you do something you absolutely hate it. Don't do that again. I'm done. Tried it on, didn't like it. Moving on to the next. Like, test things out, try things out, keep record of it. What was the performance? How did you feel? How did they feel? What was their response? Leading back to what Tracy said, asking them, leading back to what Yanta said, ask for the good and the bad, sending out those emails if that's how you connect with your folks, and saying, hey, how's things going? What's something that you're enjoying? What's something that you would like to see change? What's something that you like to see added? So really testing it out, like trying on things for fit, and getting those metrics to be able to say, like, oh, okay, so this is the outcome of that. So I thought this would work, but I'm now seeing that it actually isn't. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that without testing it. Now, yep, there are people that go ahead of you and do those things ahead of you so that you can skip some of those things. So I'm not shunning that, but I am saying you sometimes have to try things on for fit. And marketing is fun.
It's fun.
So that's half the fun.
Very
It's just
fun.
like trying new stuff. And there's so many times you think, like, at least in my career, that I'm like, that's not going to work. And then it does. And like likewise, there's so many times that I'm like, this is gonna definitely work, and I'm like, that did not work at all.
Right.
So, I mean, you just never know, right? Like, you never know how something's going to react to, like, with your customers. And I think that's why, like, Yanta's point around doing what makes, like, feels comfortable with you, then you're on the right track, right? Because, like, if it works or it doesn't work, there's no, like, downfall. It's just like, hey, I did this thing. I wanted to try it. I feel good about it. And then I got some data from it. Versus if, like, you're forcing yourself to do something that doesn't feel authentic, and then it also doesn't go well, you're going to be like, man, why'd I do that? So,
Data saves you
yeah.
money. Data saves you money.
It's just like, just do it feels right and do it feels good to you, and then, kind of go from there. So, all right. Well, that brings us to the close of another great episode. We've really enjoyed having this conversation with you about, helping your fans move from fans into advocates. We've talked a lot about your personal brand, making sure you feel comfortable, making sure that you kind of invite your fans into the conversation and give them a little bit of permission to share their content and how they interact with your brand. And then also just, again, as always, we talk about measuring things and tracking the data. So with that, we always love measuring our effectiveness and how much you guys are liking stuff by getting your feedback. So we'd love to hear you, give us a like, subscribe to the podcast, leave us a comment. You can obviously leave us a review on your favorite podcast channel, or come on over to YouTube and leave us a review there and give us your feedback. Tell us what you want us to talk about. We always love talking about the things that you're interested in. Otherwise, you're just going to hear our random thoughts on marketing, which could also be great. So we look forward to seeing you next week. And give us a shout on social media.
Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you found something new that was helpful. And if not, I hope you had a good laugh with us. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. The views expressed by the guests are their own and may not reflect the views of Behind the Buzzwords or the co-host. Mentions of particular books, digital tools, or strategies or participation of guests does not imply endorsement by Behind the Buzzwords or the co-host. This information provided is meant for educational and entertainment purposes and should not be taken as professional advice.